According to Sophie Cunningham, I think that everyone saw that we kind of got some flow when Kate was hurt, and our offense was clicking. But now we have to have a new offense when she's in there because she just brings that much to the game, and so we have to adjust, and I think all of us just want it now. Sophie Cunningham went on record to say that Indiana is even more dangerous when Caitlin Clark is not playing. They have made a mistake. The Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark, is not yours. What everyone has been thinking was just said by Sophie Cunningham. Caitlin Clark is too talented to be put on the sidelines by poor instruction. It never occurred to me that I would say this. Stephanie White must be fired by the Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark is not a good fit for Stephanie White's coaching style. Let me reiterate, Stephanie White. As a coach, you are an absolute jerk. Trash. Her everything was merely revealed via a viral comment. This Indiana Fever offense has been clarified by Sophie Cunningham. If you support Caitlin, give it your all. The game has been altered by Clark. She made the difference in college. And the nation has fallen in love with America and what we have produced in the WNBA. This is the grown-up version of the girl next door. Clark, Caitlin. The country is enthralled, with Caitlin Clark shattering collegiate scoring records and expanding the audience for women's basketball. She is a phenomenon. Sophie Cunningham did more than merely talk. The league was rocked by her revelation of the truth. While Tyler Marsh is attempting to make Angel Reese a star, she transformed a star into a role actor. She made the statement that every Caitlin Clark fan has been longing to hear from the locker room during a post-practice interview. Caitlin is so good that this team needs. It's a completely different offensive strategy when she's playing. Her exact words: "When Caitlin was hurt, we had some flow, but now we need a fresh offense when she's in there. We had some flow while Kate was hurt and our offense was playing well. But now that she's back, we need to have a different offense because she adds so much to the game. Because when Kate was hurt, we kind of got some flow and our offensive was playing well. But now that she's in there, we need a new offensive strategy because she adds so much to the game. We must thus adapt. And I believe we all desire it right now. We had some flow, but Caitlin is so amazing that we had to play a different style while she's there." Those words spread like wildfire. Sophie wasn't trying to minimize the team's fleeting triumph without Caitlin. She was emphasizing the significant impact Caitlin has. She was not holding her responsible for the losses. "The system isn't built around the star it should be," she said. "We should play a different style when Caitlin is available because she is that amazing." She is correct. The unvarnished honesty of this moment is what makes it go viral. She was clear. She pointed it out. Everything changes when Caitlin is around. What did Stephanie White do each time Indiana briefly looked promising with Caitlin Clark? She meant it as a compliment when she seated her on the bench. She recognized what opposition teams, fans, and commentators have witnessed throughout the season. Clark is not your typical rookie. But because she adds so much to the game, we now need a different offensive strategy while she's playing. She is a once-in-a-generation talent, a game changer. It's the most amazing talent I've ever seen someone fumble. This is a once-in-a-lifetime generational player. It's put her WNBA career out of her mind. The ball has always been in her hand. However, the current system stifles her rather than the team stepping up to support her abilities. Sophie's remarks subtly challenged the team's management in addition to endorsing Clark. When you're bringing people back into the lineup, adjustments are inevitable. In essence, she's saying we're not adjusting to our star and it's costing us. Regarding it, there is no doubt. She further alluded to the dissatisfaction that was growing in the locker room by stating, "We all simply want it immediately." That's not just about effort. That's about urgency, about matching the play style to the athlete who is attracting fans and setting records for viewership. Caitlin Clark is a superstar. She is among the most accomplished female athletics. The reason behind the success of women's basketball and the WNBA is Caitlin Clark. who is doing astronomically well business for a league that has no history of success in this area. Fans clearly heard Sophie Cunningham's voice in that one moment, which she used to express what Caitlin is unable to publicly state. Caitlin Clark shouldn't put up with this garbage. In addition to igniting the internet, Sophie Cunningham's remarks also stoked one of the most pressing topics regarding Indiana fever at the moment. What is Caitlin Clark doing with Stephanie White? 'Cause it's not only disappointing, but also frustrating to watch the games. Let's begin with the most obvious problem. They're taking Caitlin Clark off the ball, the top point guard in the country. A player renowned for her ability to manage the game's tempo, her incredible passing range, and her court vision. The Caitlin Clark effect is the term used to describe her influence and presence in women's basketball. The nation is in love with what we have produced. And here's the grown-up girl next door, America. The usage of Caitlin Clark as a role model. Stephanie White pushed Caitlin to small forward and starting a McDonald at point guard in recent games. It's not a typo, it's a tactical catastrophe. Stephanie White, who believes that Caitlin Clark playing small forward is a fantastic idea. You're not merely changing roles. You're undervaluing one of the most dynamic players to ever play in the WNBA, and the outcomes are self-evident. Clark had almost no influence over the offense in a recent 8,061 loss. She didn't attempt any free shots toss. She was confined to the corner and hardly made contact with the ball. We saw her play small forward while standing in the corner. McDonald, who wasn't even on the roster for weeks prior, took more three-pointers than other players. Okay, we have the world's greatest playmaker. We have the world's best point guard. Sophie Cunningham is bringing up the ball. But why? Next came Aaliyah Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. Boston, it's more than just poor strategy. Coaching malpractice is what that is. The Suda dumpster juice is the offense that Stephanie White has Caitlin Clark running. In order to create greater consistency, Stephanie White defended her decisions by stating that she wants to reintegrate Caitlin into the system. Both ends of the floor. You've probably seen it in spells too. However, once more, we are reintegrating C and DD. The problem is that Caitlin Clark is not the one who requires reintegration. It is not necessary for Caitlin to become involved in an offense. From the beginning, the system ought to have been designed with her in mind. Caitlin Clark's strengths were supposed to be the foundation of this. A generational athlete shouldn't be asked to adjust to a strict, antiquated offense. Excellent players adapt to great coaches. The opposite is not true. Originated in Connecticut. This isn't Connecticut. You didn't have to come here if you wanted to. You were so focused on having a certain kind of point guard and running a particular kind of offense. It was not necessary for you to travel to Indiana if you had the option to remain in your current location. You capitalize on her advantages, like she did at Iowa. You let her take the lead. She ought to be the center of attention for the team's offense, defense, and all other areas. The revenue she's producing for the league at the moment, but particularly the Indiana Fever, as she has demonstrated on a professional level. This isn't just fan annoyance, statistically speaking. It is supported by concrete data. Indiana averages 88 when Caitlin Clark plays and runs the point. Each game is worth 2 points. They are 8+, 4 points. Caitlin Clark's performance, that falls to 79 without her or when she isn't in charge of the offense. 8. That's almost 9 points each game that separates them. Despite Caitlin's talents, Stephanie White's insistence on a motion offense drags down the game and fails to recognize what made her the most anticipated rookie in WNBA history. Not just fans are taking notice. Cunningham sophisticated it clearly. With Caitlin in there, we need a new offensive strategy. That was no casual comment. That was a red flag, and it confirmed what fans had been shouting for weeks. However, Stephanie White is more concerned with maintaining her own system than making the most of her natural talent. Without Caitlin Clark, the fever is more serious. Regarding Stephanie White's remarks regarding the M just plays in a different way without moving on the ground. He is a man with a high consumption rate. He's holding the ball. That ball is moving when he's not on the ground. It's exploding. Everyone's stepping up and several players joining the action. For him, lower us. Stephanie White tells me that the ball is going now. It's exploding. It's starting to move. This is essentially her way of saying that she doesn't enjoy Caitlin Clark's playing style. Not surprisingly, people are clamoring for her position. This has nothing to do with a difficult beginning or early growth pains. Concerns a coach who willfully ignores the fact that she possesses the basketball equivalent of a golden ticket. We will never see the real Stephanie White as long as she is here. Caitlin Clark possesses a magnificence. Caitlin Clark did not enter the WNBA by accident. Record-breaking viewership, millions of new fans, and a new vitality that the league hasn't had in decades were all brought about by her. What has she received? In exchange, a position in the corner, an unsuitable system, and a coach who seems to be doing nothing except strengthening her star. The worst aspect is that no one is held accountable. None of it has belonged to Stephanie White. Not the breakdown of the offensive, not the personnel abuse. K-Pole, that was Stephanie White, my coach who lacks accountability the most. She is the most unaccountable coach I have ever encountered. Not the momentum that was lost. She has never once stood up and accepted responsibility. She never glances in the mirror, instead pointing to a lack of effort or execution, and it's plenty for the fans. They are threatening to quit following the team, to stop purchasing tickets, and to completely give up. They walk if Caitlin Clark does. Online viewers of the Indiana Fever basketball team have been threatening to stop watching. Fans are threatening to stop attending the games. It goes all the way down. Additionally, the team is currently below 0-5 close to 20 after a few games. Indiana appears to be more of a warning about what happens when a team overlooks a player who has the potential to make all the difference than a playoff contender. Stephanie White worked at one job. Caitlin Clark is now failing her rookie season. Don't ruin it. Stephanie White will be remembered as the coach who so utterly destroyed the Caitlin Clark support base. Nobody has ever fumbled a golden goose like this. In my experience, what began as annoyance has now exploded into a full-scale uprising. Analysts, teammates, and fans can all see the same thing. In addition to being mistreated and pushed into a role that doesn't suit her generational gift, Caitlin Clark is being abused. Furthermore, basketball is no longer the only topic. Respect, leadership, and the franchise's future all at stake. You must allow her to select the coach and player of her choice on the group. Since the supporters have propelled this squad to national prominence, let's start with them. Game attendance at Indiana was half empty prior to Caitlin's arrival. All of the games are sold out now. Records have been broken by viewership. Jerseys for Fevers are selling very quickly. And Caitlin Clark, a single player, is solely responsible. However, this organization's response is perplexing. They have marginalized her instead of constructing around her. CEC's game was ruined by Stephanie White. It's a nasty fever. It seems like Cease was the target of a plot at this point. We found it difficult to follow the coach's instructions. Caitlin Clark does not appeal to Stephanie White. They are currently suffering the price for forcing her into uncomfortable rotations. Supporters have made their voices heard. They are enraged. Calls for Stephanie White's termination are rife on social media. Clark may be seen standing in the corner, hardly touching the ball, in several recent game footage. Caitlin Clark was taken out by her. Caitlin Clark took her out whenever she got something going, clearly out of rhythm and annoyed. The Caitlin who energized the NCAA and motivated a new generation of basketball fans is not this Caitlin. Poor people are neutralizing this superstar leadership, and you're going to deny Caitlin Clark that and put her in a corner. It's also cracking in the locker room. There was more to Sophie Cunningham's widely shared statement than basketball. It was a subliminal jab at coaching and a clue that there are disagreements in that locker room. The team plays like two distinct squads, she remarked literally. One during Caitlin's absence and one during her presence. She's so amazing that we need to run a different offensive. We must figure it out around her and do what she does best. We play basketball in a different style when she is with us, and it's almost like two distinct teams. When Caitlin Clark is playing, they must use a different offensive strategy. Let Caitlin do what she does and give her the ball. That may sound commendable, but it also betrays a profound structural misunderstanding. We must turn the ball over to Cece in order to be effective. This goes beyond simply changing styles. It concerns a squad that lacks identity, and worse, a coach who won't center the team around her finest player. The frustration of Caitlin's comrades is not coincidental. I've had to switch between playbooks based on her level of activity. Chemistry is killed by that contradiction. During one game, you're operating and Caitlin is in charge of every play in this up-tempo redandriact offensive scheme. The next, you find yourself confined to a strict half-court configuration designed for players with radically differing ability levels. The team is being eaten alive by that lack of identity. It also gets more profound. Even Caitlin's parents aren't going to games as frequently, according to insiders. Something changed in the energy. Tension exists in theater. Even her parents no longer attend these games. The organization's priorities appear to be quite clear. Maximize Caitlin's fames, earnings without providing her with the framework or assistance she requires to succeed. Caitlin Clark's best interests are not served by the Indiana Fever or this organization. They serve one's own interests. You are denying Caitlin Clark the opportunity to showcase herself and utilizing her for financial gain. Her extraordinary talent. In a study of fans, the majority stated that if Clark left, they would no longer follow the Fever. This box was clicked by everyone. Caitlin Clark departs from the group. Caitlin leaves. We head out. Take a moment to process that. This is not simply a favorite among fans. The franchise is her. There are already rumors circulating regarding the future of Clark. The rumors that she wants to visit New York have become more widespread. There has been a lot of conjecture that Caitlin Clark essentially desires to visit New York, and in the fast-paced style of Coach Sandy Brondello, makes sense in New York. Clark might do well. She and Sabrina Ionescu together would form a team that would rule the league and change the course of WNBA history. They are already being referred to as the future by fans, Sisters of Splash. Clay and Steph 2.0. The Splash Sisters will be her, and Sabrina, now I can see it. Steph 2 and Clay 0. As she did at Iowa, picture Caitlin Clark in an offense where she is allowed to lead, create, and shoot. The vision is that. The dream is that. However, it's not taking place in Indiana. Not? Under Stephanie White, the question that now arises is how long Clark will remain silent. We won't make the playoffs if we continue to act in the same manner as you. Both creators and fans are increasingly urging Clark to speak out. They are requesting that she issue an ultimatum and demand improvements. In order to safeguard her own career, Kane Clark must issue an ultimatum to the Indiana Fever. For the prime of this franchise is wasted. I will either not wear this jersey or you guys will change it and we will do it my way. And to be honest, it may be time. She is being forced into an ineffective system. It's our responsibility as coaches to find it out. You understand why, don't you? Yes, you have witnessed it at moments, in spurts, and with specific lineups. You know, I'm looking for us, identifying the lineups we've seen it with on a regular basis and possibly holding those together. Adjustments will always be necessary when reintroducing someone into the lineup. Regarding it, there is no doubt. But the attention to detail and the competitiveness make her feel like she's just another piece in a puzzle that's broken. You took everything away from her, even everything you did. Additionally, her impact is being lessened with each passing game, not by defenses, but by her own group. If you guys are going to act this way, I don't need to be wearing an Indiana Fever uniform. Let's face it, this goes beyond simple poor management. A system that is unwilling to change is sabotaging this player. Caitlin Clark is disappointed. She has been misled. This organization has defrauded her. She wasn't a project when she joined the league. She era veterity. She was meant to represent the WNBA, but every minute she spends cooped up on the wing, watching indifferent ball handlers take over while she sits in the corner doing nothing, her dream is vanishing. A once-in-a-lifetime athlete, Caitlin Clark is a cultural icon and a demonstrated leader. However, no amount of skill can defeat a system that marginalizes her, a coach who doesn't trust in her, and a team that is more interested in leveraging her reputation than boosting her performance. Build a larger, more devoted fan base for themselves off of Caitlin Clark's back and take advantage of the commercial prospects that have arisen from her joining the club, but not with Caitlin at its core. Here we are. Then, the supporters are tired. Her coach is unimpressed and her teammates are perplexed. In addition to losing games, Indiana will also lose their fan base if they don't quickly wake up and reorganize this team around Caitlin Clark locker room. And ultimately, the superstar who initially brought them into the spotlight. Her dismissal is warranted and it should happen as fast as possible. Not only did Sophie Cunningham's remarks make headlines, they reveal the more profound reality that everyone has been sensing. Caitlin Clark is the solution, not the issue. The game has been altered by Caitlin Clark. In college and the WNBA, she made a change. The nation is enamored with what Wayhave produced. And here's the grown-up girl next door, America, Clark, Caitlin. Breaking collegiate scoring records and introducing women's basketball to a new audience. Caitlin Clark has enthralled the country. She is a phenomenon. The Caitlin Clark effect is the term used to describe her influence and presence in women's basketball. But the system that surrounds her isn't working. It is seen by the fans. The changing area feels it. The figures also support this. Indiana runs the risk of losing everything she brought with her if they don't make a change right away and build around the player who is transforming the league. The hope, the ticket sales, the spotlight, it's up to the Fever now. Either adapt or fail. For the remainder of us, Caitlin is standing with us.